You are listening to the Manument Podcast. My name is Casey, and I'm here with my buddy Glenn Johnson, investment advisor and founder of Jabez Financial right here in the Uncasville area. All right, Glenn, shall we dive in today?
Yes, looking forward to it.
Let's do it. I want to talk to you about the great wealth transfer because it is well underway, and this is where baby boomers are passing on trillions of dollars in inheritance. But economist Paul Donovan says we're missing something.
Over the next 20 years or so, $84 trillion changes hands. And you immediately assume the kids get it. This is not what is necessarily going to happen. A reasonable chunk of this money, it will go sideways. Stereotypically, in the boomer generation, wealth was disproportionately generated by men, and genetically, their wives will outlive them. So the money goes sideways. So at the moment, women own and control about 30% of global wealth. I think within the next 20 years, women will start to control a majority of global wealth.
So I wanted to get your thoughts on this, Glenn. What steps do you think women should be taking right now to get ready for inheriting and managing substantial wealth in retirement?
Well, you know, when wealth transfers from one person to the next, so does responsibility. And it's an interesting demographic point that he made there. And I find it interesting. You know, here's a fun fact. You know, men live longer if they're married and women live longer if they're single.
That is a fun fact, Glenn.
Right. I'm just saying. So men, stay married, make smart decisions. Mm-hmm. But also for the surviving spouses out there, when this wealth gets transferred to you, it comes with it a whole new set of responsibilities. You know, it's almost like the situation's a little different for the surviving spouse. They've got different needs. They've got a different philosophy and an attitude towards money. And maybe if it's the wife that's the surviving spouse, maybe they're not as involved or haven't even been as interested in how the different types of investments even work. So what may have been very suitable and appropriate at one time, when that wealth moves sideways, that portfolio may no longer be suitable for the surviving spouse.
Right. Well, I've seen this idea of sideways wealth. Personally, we lost my dad very unexpectedly last year. And while luckily my mom was very involved in the finances while he was still here, she was not going into managing the money completely blind. It was still a lot for her to take over on top of grieving at the same time. So I can't imagine what it must be like for a spouse having to go into it, not having any clue about what's going on with the finances on top of losing their spouse. That has to be a lot. And I will say, my mom, once taking over, has made some changes with her plan now that make more sense for her moving forward in her retirement because she is solo now. And things change, wouldn't you say?
It really does. You know, I just got a call just a couple of days ago from a client that just lost her husband. And she had been working with a different financial advisor years ago. And she's just trying to put some things together. She doesn't even know where the files and the accounts are. So it's really just a matter of, okay, let's see if we can find whatever paperwork you have. We can start calling around and dig through this and make sense of it. And she's got to go through this because she wasn't as involved as her husband. And her former advisor isn't even available. So a lot of times, that's what I say, to have some systems in place where you don't just know what's going on with the money, but you've got to have a relationship with somebody personally that can walk with you through it.
Yes, you don't want it to be like trying to put a puzzle together in the aftermath. Having a plan going into it will make that time that's already really so difficult so much easier for you. And I want to talk about kind of how it goes down the line, because first we've got the sideways wealth. It goes sideways, but then it goes down the line and things can get a little different. So how are things different when the money passes on to an heir versus passing sideways to a spouse? What do people need to be prepared for there?
Well, you know, it's actually being prepared to receive something. So sometimes wealth can transfer before somebody passes away. So this guy had a business. He wants to retire. He's getting ready to retire. His wife wants him to retire. So he said to his son, he said, you know what? If you go out and earn $1,000, you can have my business. I'll retire and mom and I will start taking vacations. His wife gets so excited, she slips her son $1,000 and says, here, go give this to dad. I'm ready. So he goes, all right, dad, here's the $1,000. So his dad took the money and threw it in the fireplace. And his son said, what are you doing? He said, I told you, when you earn the $1,000, you can have the business and I'll retire. So he waits a week. His mom slips him another $1,000. He shows up pretending like he's all out of breath after earning this money and says, "Here you go, Dad. Here's the $1,000. So he took it and threw it in the fire again. He says, "I told you, when you earn it, you can have the business." So finally, the kid finally goes out and earns the $1,000, shows up to his father and says, here's the $1,000. He says, "Great." So he threw it in the fire. This time the kid jumps in, grabs the money, pulls it out, and he goes, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Oh, you did earn it. You did earn it." And so
that's clever.
we've got to have a lot of respect. When we inherit money from our parents, we want to respect those dollars. Maybe we didn't personally put in the effort to earn it, but we still have to treat it with the same level of respect that we have for the effort that our parents put in to accumulate it. And so it's a matter of being personally able to receive. One of the things, kind of like take lottery winners. Somebody may hit the lottery. They're immediately a millionaire on paper, but their thinking isn't. And so they will quickly go back to the size of their thinking. So when somebody inherits a bunch of money, let's say they inherit $1 million, and prior to that, they didn't have 50 cents to rub, a couple of quarters to rub together. If somebody inherits that kind of wealth, they have to now get to work on becoming a millionaire so they don't lose the assets they've inherited.
Well, how important do you think it is in that moment to build up a team around you, like a financial advisor, having a CPA, having an estate attorney early on in the process? How important is that to get that team set in place when you inherit some substantial wealth?
It's critically important. It really is. We recognize that just because you have something, that doesn't mean you have the skills to be able to manage it. And we have to quickly learn how things work. And we also have to find people whom we can trust that will speak into our lives to help us grow and help us get the knowledge we need to be able to receive it. And they've got to care about us in such a way that they care more about our success than our friendship. That's a big deal to me, because a lot of times, as soon as somebody comes into a lot of money or they've accumulated a lot of money, many people in their lives are afraid to tell them the truth because they don't want to sacrifice the relationship. But good advice, good counsel is going to come from people that can not just tell you what you want to hear, but tell you what you need to hear. And we can do that. And so that's what we do here at Jabez. We provide this information. We can do it in love. We want you to win. So I invite you to give us a call. Give us a call at 860-288-9977. I'd love to have just a quick introductory call we could talk for 10, 15 minutes. You can give me an idea about what your background is, and we'll go from there. I'd love to find out how I may be able to help. So you can give us a call, again, at 860-288-9977.
Listen, whether it is going sideways or it is going down the line, you just want to have a plan in place when it comes to transferring wealth. And that is where Glenn and his team at Jabez Financial come in. So give us a call. 860-288-9977 is that phone number for you. Again, we'll find you the next convenient time on the calendar. We'll get you set up for that 15-minute phone call with Glenn. Remember, there's no pressure here. There's no obligation. This is just a chance for you guys to chat through your situation, and you can figure out together what that best path forward looks like for you. So that number, again, 860-288-9977. We are standing by right now to take your call, so jump on it while we've got these spots available for you. One more time, 860-288-9977, or just head online if that's easier for you. We are at jabezfinancial.com. Click that contact tab, fill out your information, and we will be more than happy to reach out to you and get connected that way. 860-288-9977 or jabezfinancial.com. All right, Glenn, we chatted about it at the top of the show, but the holidays are here. We are in full swing. There's no turning back now. And if you love Oreo cookies, then you know that they release special versions every year at the holidays. And their latest, it's a 10 holiday-flavored cookies that taste like things like turkey and stuffing, sweet potatoes, creamed corn, cranberry sauce, pumpkin pie, and caramel apple pie. Now, I will tell you, Glenn, most of those sound absolutely atrocious to me, but maybe there are a couple in there that I could be interested in. And I was reading this list this week of these new flavors and thinking about things from a retirement perspective, as I do. And Oreo keeps coming up with these new flavors, just like we see investment ideas that may be new to us, like private equity, cybercurrency, hedge funds, target date funds. And they all sound exciting at first, but I wanted to talk to you about this and ask, how do you help clients decide if what's new fits into their retirement plan? Because, see, I know for a fact turkey and stuffing Oreos, those do not fit into my life in any way, shape, or form. But I don't know, caramel apple pie, that could be something that I'm into. I'm a little intrigued by it. So talk to me about your thoughts here, Glenn.
Well, it starts with knowing what you want. And when you don't know exactly what you want, anything can get your attention. So there's with a vast variety of type of financial accounts and investment products out there, and they all have something kind of neat about them. So you think, oh, that's interesting. Maybe that would work. Oh, I like this feature over here. Or this. Well, this is a cool little sub benefit on that I wasn't expecting. There's so many opportunities that unless you know exactly what you want, it's easy to get lost in the weeds. And then you end up with something that really doesn't fit the bill. I think about when it comes to like buying a car. Do you remember back in the day when you went to the car dealership, you'd see all kinds of different colored cars and you could spot them a mile away. You'd say, oh, you could tell from a mile away, that's a Chevy, that's a Ford, that's a Mercedes. But now when you look at the car dealership, they're all the same. They're all some short shade of gray, and you can't tell the difference between one make and one model versus another. It's because the car industry has realized that when you put too many things out there, people lose the ability to make a decision. So instead of showing up at the car dealership and the salesman asking you, what color car would you like? And you can say blue, yellow, green, red, whatever. The question they ask is, do you want one that's light or dark?
Decision before I get there.
That's it. And so then they just direct you over here. And so until you know exactly what you want, any car with some interesting features and a slick talking salesman can place you in a car that isn't necessarily what you were looking for. And people kind of take the same approach to choosing financial investments. Going back to the car situation, people will look at their wallet and say, okay, I've got X amount of dollars, and they'll say they've got 20 grand to buy a car. They'll take that 20,000 and start looking and find out what's the best car I can buy for $20,000. And whatever it is, they're never really satisfied with it. So I take a different approach. Find out, well, what features do you want to have in a car? All right, when I was looking for my last car, I realized, okay, I want a convertible. I want it all-wheel drive. I want to have heated seats. I wanted to have a back seat. All of a sudden it limited the options down. And then I found out that, oh, well, I want a C-Class convertible Mercedes. It's got a good back seat. It's got all-wheel drive, and I knew what I wanted. And so then at that point, I could figure out how to go about buying that car the most economic way. So when someone's looking at all these different types of financial products out there, and there's some really cool features on them, like whether they're income riders or death benefit enhancements or downside, profiting from downside risk, or there's all kinds of stuff. My point is, you've got to be able to describe and define how it is you want to live every day and what financial products do you need to be able to support you living the way you want to live. Think about it. When do you want to wake up? Who do you want to be with? What vacations do you want to take? What charities do you want to donate to? How do you want to help the grandkids? Or just what do you want your life to look like? And then once that's clearly defined, we're able to say no to lots of good opportunities that are not in line with getting you to where you want to be. So when we talk about weeding through the muck of all the different types of investments that are out there, let's spend some time talking about what you want your future to look like and how you want to experience. Then we can hone in, narrow it down almost effortlessly to be able to determine and conclude this is the type of account you should have. This is where your assets should be, and you'll live the life that you've so much desired.
You mentioned how important it is to get to the bottom and understand exactly what your clients want. And I'm curious if you can go into more about how you uncover that, because I'm wondering if sometimes a client comes to you and they have no clue what they want. What if they have never even really thought about what retirement looks like for them? And so you're asking them these questions, but they've never even thought about it. So how do those conversations typically go when somebody comes to you and is like, I've only thought about working for the last 30, 40 years. I've never even thought about what my next 30 years look like? How do those conversations kind of unfold in your office?
Well, we've got to learn how to dream again. When we're kids, we start out with all these dreams and ambitions. I want to be a pilot. I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be whatever. I'm going to be a pro athlete. Kids have dreams, and there's something to learn from that. Those dreams aren't supposed to die when we get a job. They're supposed to evolve into the next season of life. And it's those dreams that inspire us to change and to grow and to become whom we're supposed to be in that next season. So I like to talk about sometimes we can learn to dream again when we remembered a time when we used to. You remember a time, just think back when you were in high school. What are some things that you dreamt about? What are some things that you wanted to accomplish back then? And we can start to identify, well, you know what? I remember I really wanted to do this. I really wanted to go there. And that can motivate people to start dreaming again. And so now at this point, we can say, okay, well, you remember what it's like to dream? Well, let's try it again. If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you want to try doing? And we can start having that conversation and begin to dream again and look forward to the future with optimism and enthusiasm. And it's not just, well, my career's over and I'm one step closer to death. No, there's so much more. Life gets better as we get older when we get better. So let's pull those dreams out of the closet, dust them off, and find out what exciting thing could we be living for next.
Glenn, he is ready to help you uncover what that next chapter looks like. He's ready to help you start dreaming again. And it all starts with this complimentary retirement projection, which is just a conversation. We've opened up those 5 spots on the calendar just for our radio listeners today. Be one of the first 5 to give us a call right now. We'll put a time on the calendar for your initial 15-minute phone conversation with Glenn. This is a no-fee, no obligation initial step in the planning process. Just you and Glenn on the phone. You can talk to him about what you're worried about. Do you know what you want your retirement to look like? Are you worried about what your income streams look like in retirement? Let's talk about it all. So again, it starts with you dialing 860-288-9977 to put a time on the calendar for your 15-minute phone call with Glenn. No fee, no obligation, 860-288-9977. Or again, find us at jabezfinancial.com. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Manument Podcast. Make sure you subscribe wherever you get your favorite podcasts so that you never miss an episode, and we will see you next time. Take care.
Investment advisory services offered through Jabez Financial, LLC, a registered investment advisor firm. Registration is not an endorsement by securities regulators. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance products, including annuities offered through Glenn Johnson, Connecticut Insurance, license number 4628409. The firms are separate entities. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company and are not offered by Jabez Financial, LLC. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties. Jabez Financial, LLC is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Jabez Financial, LLC is licensed in your state, please call 860-390-0093.